Good evening and welcome to the November, I'm sorry. Good evening and welcome to the November 12th, 2019 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Austin. As you're all aware, we ask that you do not have conversations in the audience. You turn your cell phones off, and if you must talk to each other, please go out in the hallway, down by the front doors. We also want to make sure that you understand that you and your representatives are addressing this board, not other applicants, not anyone that comes in to talk about your property. So with that, we're going to start our agenda for the evening. ZBA 1519, 6 Narragansett has been adjourned to the December 12th meeting. ZBA 1919, 6 Osage Drive. Is there anyone here representing 6 Osage Drive? I want to remind people that you must show up at the zoning board meetings on time. And if we will adjourn this, and this is an open request from the board for revisions but from the applicant. And do you have any comments on this, Jeff? None? Okay. We want to remind people, until you get your variances, you should not be doing the work that you're in front of the zoning board for. We will adjourn 1919 until the December meeting. No one is here. ZBA 0218, 49 Spring Street. Applicant is seeking amendments to the variance and the setback from the old aqueduct, the old Croton Aqueduct, in order to construct, a new 4-story mixed-use building. Please give your name and your address, and you understand that you are under penalty of perjury these are public hearings, so you are under penalty of perjury if you lie. I'm sorry, I've had a long weekend, so it's I'm a little bit.
J.B. Hernandez, architect for the project, 100 Secular Boulevard, Austin, New York.
Robert Corky, attorney for the applicant.
Okay. We were in front of this board about 6 months ago. We obtained a variance for, is this on?
Is the green light up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just talk into the mic. I get closer to it. Go ahead.
We had received a variance to 8 feet, to be 8 feet from the aqueduct. Once we began with the process of the construction documents, and we have received, we have done an outdated survey. It came to our attention once we did the alignment on the field that there is an encroachment to our property, that the sidewalk actually, the corner of the sidewalk that goes into the bus stop, when it was built, it actually goes into the 49 Spring property. This was not shown. I mean, the original survey that we had been given, and we were working with Danette, showed the sidewalk. So, as we continue with the construction documents, what we decided, talking to the client, that instead of going through the whole process of the encroachment and the sidewalk and whose encroachment is, that it was easier to reduce the footprint of the building, since we had storage and retail space at the bottom. So we did reduce the footprint of the building at the main level, which maintained the 8-foot setback. But when we go to the upper floors, because we have apartment, we have to maintain by code certain square footages, that became unattainable. So what we propose is to have an overhang of 2 feet at the rear, that will allow the square footage to remain the same in the upper floor, choose the lower, the footprint will be reduced, and then the sidewalk will not have to change at all.
Yeah, just to give you a little background about this, this property was taken by the village and sold by the village in 1985 to Friends Construction. My client purchased it in 2017. We utilized the property description on the deeds and in the title reports from Mr. Hernandez and his documents and an old survey, and there was no indication of the encroachment by the village or town sidewalk onto the property. Visually, if you look at Spring Street, and coincidentally, Mr. Silva owns the neighboring property, we assume that that property was on the property line. It isn't, it's set back. We didn't even know that. So when you look at the buildings on Spring Street, you see some buildings come out 2 feet and others are in this other line. So we made the assumption, and I'm going to say it was an assumption based on the information we had, that the property line was the same as the front line of the neighboring property, and that was the property line so described in the Schedule A on the deed from the town to the prior owner. In preparation of construction, I requested an updated survey and that it be staked out, because I was really concerned about the rear of the property as it butted the aqueduct and the 8-foot setback. I wanted that there be no question as to where the property lines were. So the property was staked out, and coincidentally or serendipitously, whatever the word you want to use, I went out and looked at Spring Street to see where the stakes were, and I'm looking around for the stakes in the front. I turn around and I look on the sidewalk and I see that, wait a second, the property line is 2 feet out onto the sidewalk. The village town sidewalk encroaches on the property for 49 Spring Street. I guess the village sidewalk encroaches on a number of properties on Spring Street, but the only one that it really affects, because those buildings are already there, is the 49 Spring Street. We then have this problem of not wanting to get into an issue about the sidewalk. The sidewalk's there. I searched the record. I asked the title company to go back. Is there anything in the record indicating that the village or the town made a claim, did anything by eminent domain to take the property? Is there anyone who's ever made an adverse possession claim regarding the property? There's nothing. So it's silent on those issues. So trying to find a way to resolve the problem, Mr. Hernandez came up with his current proposal. You can see if you look on the left side, the red line, where the discrepancies, and it's significant. And if you go down there, you say, oh my God, it's the bus stop, the left line on the bottom left, the red line on the bottom left, the other way.
The other left.
The other left,
You know,
yeah.
I didn't get to it.
Yeah, you can see that, and it's hard even to visualize what an impact it is, because you have that, the sidewalk is not straight on Spring Street, that's where it has the indent for the bus stop. So I think, in my opinion, JB did a wonderful job of figuring this out to avoid a real problem. We didn't know that at the time. We probably would have done something a little bit different. I don't think anybody was aware of it. I honestly don't even, I don't know when the sidewalks were done down there. Does anyone know? When the new sidewalks were put in on Spring Street?
No, I don't think anybody is prepared with that answer.
Yeah, but I mean, I just thought maybe if you knew, I don't recall, I just remember them doing it. So I don't know how or why that they were put in the wrong place. But it's the condition that exists there today, and I don't think the sidewalk's gonna be moved, so JB came up with this, we hope is a viable solution.
So you're saying that the first floor will still be the 8 feet from the aqueduct, and the second floor will be 2 feet?
Will be
What's the
6 feet.
It will be 2 feet.
2 feet.
less.
Closer, yes.
What's the height of the second floor?
Yeah,
From the
how
ground?
high is it?
From the ground, it's about, it's about 9 feet.
9 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me first ask, is there anybody here that wants to speak on the 49 Spring Street Corporation? seeing anybody?
So-
Anybody?
So basically, we're maintaining the 8 feet on the ground floor, and you're just gonna have an overhang of 2 feet to maintain the living space up top, and you're
Yes.
starting at 9 feet and going up.
Yes.
And you do realize that your zoning variance expires in November, and we are in November. This is the November meeting. May is 6 months, a variance is 6
Right,
months.
So we'll see you next month.
So you didn't request an extension on your variance?
But we are requesting an amendment to the variance.
Didn't we grant the variance? Oh.
In May, it's a
Right.
6-month
June.
variance.
Oh, I thought June.
May 2019, according to here, was granted in May of 2019.
Stuart, does the amendment apply to the existing variance, or would this amendment oversee that as a new variance?
I think what it would be revision to the existing variance. So what it would basically be is 8 feet from the first floor, 6 feet from floors 2 and 3. Should point out, they're gonna have to go back to the Board of Architectural Review. And given that it also does change the footprint, it may require site plan as well, because it's not, the original diagram, or the original plan, was basically flush on the property line,
Right.
which it is not now. So that may require Brian as well, they may have to do that, but certainly BAR, because the design of the building is different than it was before.
Yeah, we'll have to,
So
I don't know
Richard-
if the orientation did change, I know I sent an email.
maybe you did.
I'll just have to see a comparison, because if the orientation did change, then yes.
The orientation of the building did not change,
Okay.
and the site plan was bringing the building to the sidewalk.
Right, so if it's
that
just the
hasn't-
facade and the
that
exterior,
hasn't-
maybe just
and
the
the rear has
BAR.
not changed.
It's where we understood the boundary line to be. When the building was designed, we thought that the property line was where the sidewalk ended. The building's designed,
Yeah.
and everything was set up to where the sidewalk ends. It was subsequent to the design coming through and the variance being granted that we discovered that that's not the property line, so everything was off 2 feet and somewhat more in that corner.
But that doesn't answer the question of,
Right.
does a,
If you were to, tonight, to approve a revision to the May 2019, then the resolution would essentially go from 6 months from now until May of 2020, by which point they would have to,
Yep.
again, show that they would
Oh, right.
have done their work and had started the
so
construction.
by making an adjustment, that's,
That would give it to them, yeah. It's effectively revising the original, so it's,
okay.
you
Just
you
wanted
could
to
do
make
that.
sure, because, you know.
No, you would be fine, you could do that,
We do have quite a few variances of stuff that isn't done, that,
right.
we're not saying 6 month variance is the right way to, you know, it's what is the law right now, so that's why.
We would like to have this not have been necessary, with the sidewalk
Well, you would
not
have been
there.
back for a variance extension anyway.
Well, we were in the process of submitting for construction for the building permit when it did come up, so that's when
Okay.
this is dated.
We had to stop all work because we would have to take out the sidewalk.
Well, it was not self-created. You're not gonna change the character of the neighborhood by doing this, in my opinion.
Okay.
And it is a minimum request that you're asking for, you're keeping the first level same as the first variance we granted. Second floor is gonna cantilever out another 2 feet or come out another 2 feet somehow.
It is self-created.
No, it is not self-created. They're
They
saying
didn't have the
that,
right survey. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just,
well, there's an
What's that?
encroachment that didn't show up on the deeds and all the other documents. Correct?
it's not our.
I think that's a legal
Yeah.
argument. We bought the property, the prior owner bought it from the town with a
I'm
property
just stating a
description.
fact, that, you know, due diligence, so, okay. All right. So, I'd like a motion to close the public hearing on,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So where are we now? Are we at the point where we're putting the construction documents together, and we're not gonna see you back here in 6 months?
No.
Okay,
Just that you have to go just to the BAR.
Right.
After this.
okay. Can I ask one request, that we not park trucks on the property?
The JV with me.
You're the owner. I
I'm
don't
so
think he's-
quiet,
I don't think he's
I'm not
parking
even
trucks
saying
on the
anything
property.
tonight,
Right.
I'm just so quiet.
I know.
But
I know.
you need my answer, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve this minor adjustment in variance, thus granting them a 6 months, extension on their current variance?
I so move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good holiday.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. ZBA 2319, 16 Havel. Look who's back.
You favor J.B. Hernandez, architect for the project?
16 Havel, have we seen you before? Yes. No?
No.
This is another Havel, right?
Yes.
No.
No. We did 14 Havel, yes. but-
Oh, Horton Havel, okay.
So this is the adjacent property, and we're proposing a deck at the rear yard, and it doesn't extend on either side. I mean, the existing structure is closer to the property line than the actual proposed work. It doesn't, so as you see in our chart, is the proposed deck, that in the proposed rear deck is the one that requires side and combined side yard variance. The structure is in the back, all the adjacent houses have similar deck. The house is, we're renovating the house, is not creating anything that would be different with the neighborhood. Actually, it's enhancing, it's improving all the properties in the area. We have some pictures of the neighborhood and the properties. So. Huh?
Where do you want me to go?
No, that's fine. I mean, I think if you want to go back to the plan, I mean,
Go back one more. Right there.
yeah.
No? So this would be, which deck are we talking about that I'm looking at right now? First, second, or third?
It will be the one that's the largest, the first floor.
First floor.
Yeah,
So it's wider than the second floor.
actually, no, the three of them are the same. It's a little bit wider, but the other two are large as well. They're not as deep.
The upper two are existing?
No, this is also proposed.
This is all gonna be new?
Yes,
So we're looking for a side yard variance of 9 feet 7.71, right? And both sides of 2.25.
That actually should be 2.75, if you add up the numbers, so you
Right.
can get to the, I know. You just have to correct the zoning worksheet.
I'll give.
Okay. And so you're in the middle of remodeling this house, or is it
Yes.
been remodeled?
Yep. Which has a building permit.
Yeah. Do we see the next one? The next one? So it's this, the White House, right? So understanding that Havel is a very, very tight neighborhood, has no yards, has no side yards, the houses are right on top of each other.
And are the other houses on that street, they have back decks too, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Go back, there's an overview, you'll see
So
it.
it's, there's another one, another picture?
There's a picture of the site. If you go back to the, no, I think it's
The other one.
They're the Sing Sing Kill behind, so it's,
Right.
next one, I think.
And you can tell on that, and that shows that, yeah,
See, that's-
14 Havel it's close to it, and then the other side is,
Well, because their backyard is the same thing.
Yeah.
They're very tight.
And,
Very tight,
yeah,
yeah.
very tight.
So it's in keeping with the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. We like anybody that works down there, right? So, over the houses. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Is there anybody here to speak on 16 Havel? Yes. Your name and address, please.
Peter Chernow, 28 North Malcolm. I own 14 Havel Street as well as 26 Havel. As the owner of 14 Havel, I'm probably the most impacted party here by this deck. I don't have a problem with it. My building has a deck. You know, you've got, speaking to zoning, I mean, I know this is a T-zone, but there are spots where T-zone doesn't really necessarily work with what's there. This is a string of row houses.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's very much in keeping with what's there. And
Thank you.
I urge you to give him his back. Thanks.
Dex.
Dex.
Is there anyone else here to speak on 16 Havel? Not seeing anyone, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to grant the variances needed for this Dex.
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
ZBA 2419, 85 Croton Avenue. Good evening.
I think it's 85, even though I have.
87, 89,
I say
85.
87, 89, I
Yes.
don't have 85.
It's the same thing, Christine.
Same thing.
Same
Oh,
one.
same thing.
This is my first time here, so a little bit.
So that's okay.
So,
We're easy going. So
So-
tell us what you want, what you're trying to do, and what
so
what the guys told you you couldn't do until you came here.
exactly. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to whatever you.
Just state your name.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
and name and address.
Corey Penny, 87 and 89 Crown Avenue, owner of Las Americas. So the picture that you're seeing right now, that's what we're trying to do, change our name. That wasn't supposed to be there. That was a second option, I think. There's another one that we currently have.
But you want to have it on both storefronts separately?
Yes, separately, since
I must have.
there's an original.
We saw
how it
the
looks right now.
first one we saw, there, that one.
There's a, how it looks right now, there's another one.
see how it looks right now? Do that, sure.
So that's what we currently have. That's even a good picture compared to what it looks now.
Right.
Now it even looks worse.
Right.
So as you can see, that's what exists. We have two different awnings, one for 87, one for 89, and we have two different signs.
Right.
We took over where it says cafe restaurant. That's a second
It's a
retail
restaurant.
space which we took over. We connected it both together. So from that, we're trying to change just pretty much the light boxes into what you saw before.
This?
Into that, yes. No, the other one.
Just this
The
one.
two Las Americas,
Right.
two light box on top. And the awning, we're gonna keep the same thing. All we're trying to do is just change the cloth. The dimension, everything's gonna be the same, just put a new look to the
Okay.
awning. That's pretty much what I'm here for. I know they had changed, they said that we could only have one sign for the restaurant. So I don't know how that's working according to the new zoning or something like that.
So our previous signage they have, I'm assuming was up there prior to.
It was.
To our code now. And since they're changing them to the current, what he's proposing, our current law says that you can't have two facade signs on the same facade. Even though they're calling their building 87, 89, the entire building is marked as 85 Croton Avenue.
Okay.
The fact that, they're one restaurant, it just says you can't advertise the same business name with two facade signs on the same facade. And then it also has a second variance where it's needed, where it says that you can't have a facade sign and an awning sign. You can have one or the other.
Oh, I see.
So their
And how
proposal
about
is to
signage
have
in the windows?
Well, that's another. But
Just-
he wasn't proposing at this point about signage for advertisement. What they have is signage in the windows that were for other things that I believe code enforcement had told you to reduce the signage. that you-
Exactly, that's something that we have also follow up. The code enforcement came down,
Right.
told us to remove the, as you can see the pictures there.
Right,
They had also told us they were gonna cite us if we don't move them
right,
all across Corn Avenue and throughout the whole town. So we did what they asked us to do, we removed, even though I
oh,
said.
so there's less signage than that.
Those aren't there anymore.
Okay.
We removed everything, we followed the code
Okay,
enforcement.
great.
And so we're
So,
trying to work
so
with
are,
them.
are you trying to, are you looking to do the two signs because you already have the fixtures there?
They're pretty much there, I mean, once we move, I don't know, how am I going, no, I'm not planning to move out of there at all.
Right.
Anytime soon, but at some point if I move, I'm pretty sure the landlord, they're gonna ask me to leave it the way it was originally, which it has both, each one has its own separate. I can't put both of them together under one,
Right,
That's one.
I see that,
Right.
yeah, it would be expensive.
Right.
so I just wanna keep whatever is there, the electrical is
Jamie,
there.
have it on the slide, right? Put one sign there?
Yeah,
Oh,
No.
the other one?
go on,
This?
yeah.
Right.
That's the other one, but then that's gonna be a lot more expensive for me.
Yeah,
because
he's
then-
already got the lights, they're light
Doesn't matter.
signs.
Individual.
It's gonna be, it's a whole new box sign, correct? You're just gonna place the box sign over the feet that's on the wall.
Yes,
All right, so you're gonna cap one off and feed it off the other one, and you have the one sign, and you're according to code, right?
Right,
No, he
then
can't
then
because he can't have.
No,
Yeah,
then he
both.
would, then he would just need one variance, not two with this.
Right.
He'd only need the variance for having a facade sign and an awning sign.
But the awning sign's not the same.
No, but that's, the code says right now that you can put your name on the awning. You don't have to put food, fresh food, you know.
Oh, so he can't even put fresh fast food on the
He
awning?
can, but he
He can have
can't.
one or the other, is basically what it comes down to.
Right.
so the main issue here is not having, I mean, I can also move the fresh, fast and good, that's, I wouldn't go for
Right.
it.
Yeah, I don't think you need, if you can't, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not,
It could
I'm not
be,
too crazy
it could
with
be a
that.
plain awning though, correct?
Yeah, if
Plain
it
awning
was,
with no
if it
sign.
was just
How
a
much-
plain colored awning
Or he
with
could,
one
he's
facade
asking
sign.
for a
he wouldn't need
variance to
variance
put
for.
that on there.
So, okay, let me just have Joe repeat that,
Okay.
1 second, Tony. If he had a
If-
plain awning,
If he had just a plain burgundy colored awning with no lettering on
Right.
it and one facade sign, he wouldn't need a variance at all.
so if he did both of these awnings with just the maroon, whatever color, you know, whatever color you choose, you know, whatever color you get approved, I'm not gonna say what you choose. And then if he wanted, so his one variance would be right now to put these two signs up, but
Plus the two awnings.
no, it wouldn't be if he had no writing on them.
So he wouldn't need a variance at
Well,
all?
If he did, if he did.
He
the
went
other
back to
one.
that other one, can we go back, Jamie? I'm sorry, Tony, and then we'll let.
Sure. I just want to
This
ask
one,
him some
yeah, go ahead.
questions.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you, I know you're presenting this, what is your preference, and also what is the, if I may ask, what is the cost going to be? I mean, I can tell you that aesthetically
Looks better.
looks better,
Yes,
but,
it does.
but
Well,
what is,
that's a matter of opinion. I think it looks like it's in between two buildings. It looks
Okay.
like two separate
Okay,
buildings,
all
I
right.
think.
I mean, it's clear it's the Las Americas with that, but I mean, okay, so just add those questions, because, I mean, I
Right, so
want to
the
get
first
rid
question-
of.
Back right now.
As far as pricing, pricing for the whole project is gonna be $9,000 with both signs.
With the both signs,
Both
okay.
signs, yes.
And if you had it like that, what it would be?
If I had it like that, and I just wanna make sure it's the same dimension, 21, 22. I didn't know that we're gonna put this picture up, that's why I was just gonna present.
Oh,
the
don't
other
worry,
one.
we were gonna ask anyway.
But, so, if I were to do just one sign in the middle, what I would like maybe is just make it a little bit bigger, since it's gonna be in the middle.
Okay, so what would that
Full
cost? The question was, what would that cost?
That's probably gonna, it's gonna be in the range of 7,500 probably.
Is that what you prefer?
I
Where
prefer,
I'm coming from is, want you obviously you want to follow the code and consider your variance, but obviously we want you to
our
also.
preference is to keep the other sign, the one with both names.
This, both names.
Both names and just,
Okay.
yes.
Is there any difference between, because I mean, I live right up the street
Okay.
from there. Is there any difference between the two? I know one area had like a takeout and another one had a sit-down.
Yes.
Right.
But you take out, you go to the takeout, you go to in that one side and you take your food.
You can
over.
do that, or you can just head out the door.
Right.
It's both, we have takeout and inside. So
Menu,
we,
waiter service.
Waiter
yes,
service?
Yeah.
wait service.
Okay.
Yeah, wait service, yeah.
Okay.
So our preference is to stay with this.
Okay.
But is it the preference there because you don't wanna have to worry about if that day ever comes and you're not there anymore, you'll have a sign there?
As I said, when we did the lease with the landlord, Luciano,
Right.
he clearly told us, make sure everything is separated from one side to the other
Right.
side.
Okay, there you go, okay.
So, like I stated before, I happen to like the one sign. I really don't have a problem with the awnings, with the one sign. Again, left or right sign can shift, and you could feed it from one of the other locations, and then you just have to cap off the other one. And
And then it would still be there when they, if you
it would
moved
still
down.
be there when they, if when that time hopefully never comes, but.
As I said, we're not trying to go anywhere.
No, but we're just saying.
No, I'm just saying.
And that's one of the ideas we're
Well,
trying
he's
to.
asking for a variance. You'll either vote yes or no for the variance. We can't say to him, we want you to change what you're doing. He's asking to have two signs.
All right, you made my mind up then.
So then you have to say, I don't want you, I can't let you have the two signs, or
Excuse me, Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Joe, my question is, when we look at, even if we kept the two above signs, okay, but if he just took the awning part and it didn't have any wording on it, you're telling me that he would not need a variance
No,
at
it
all?
would be-
He would only need one of the two for having two sides up, two signs on the same facade of the building.
Okay,
But he could
Alright, so-
eliminate one of them.
we could eliminate one of them.
Right. He can eliminate both of them.
And he has no
One sign.
problem removing which is costly in itself, too,
I would,
right?
I have no issue with removing fresh, fast and good. My only question would be, can I keep the number, since it's the address of the building, 87, and the other one 89?
I don't see a problem
I
with
don't
that
see a
because
problem.
that's an address, it's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not an
Oh, I would
advertisement.
prefer that.
Could he put takeout on one side and restaurant on the other?
I mean, it's up to him.
yeah.
No, I'm just asking a question because that kind of gives people an idea of what the two sides
And I
are.
appreciate that concept, just because we would like our community to know that they also have the opportunity to eat inside
Or
or
sit
take
out,
out,
right.
something that.
Because that's not obvious from looking outside, even in
Right,
this
right,
picture,
right.
that's not obvious. So I guess that was my question, because if you made it obvious that, one side absolutely said takeout and the other side said restaurant, I mean,
I'm assuming you would come in, a place that I've seen, something that you mentioned to, it's fish and
Fish and chips.
yes,
Fish
fish,
and chips?
Brothers
Brothers.
Fish,
Brothers.
right.
Brothers Fish, yes. So they have one section that says
That's
takeout,
correct.
Yes.
eat-in, or.
Yes, that's
dine-in.
right.
So that's something that I would
I think our
consider.
pizzeria has the same thing outside.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
So that's why I said it just kind of makes it
Yes,
user-friendly.
yes. And I'll definitely go with that, and just to have, let the community know what our place
Yeah,
actually is.
no, because I know from a practical experience, when I've walked by there, it's the only reason that I know you gotta take out and arrest them because you walk by there, but it's not clear from the sign.
That's
Exactly, and
correct.
we
And
have a lot of
I drive
customers-
by there and it's not clear driving by, that's
Only,
why,
yeah, right. No, but it's a very good suggestion, I think.
I'm
But
at
it's up to
C-Town
you.
all the time, but I
No,
never
and
know
I'm
what's
okay
going
with
on in there.
that, take out and, eat in or dine in.
Right.
That's,
I think from reading what's in the code, I mean, it says, an awning sign shall be permitted as an alternative to a wall-mounted sign, provided that no tenant in the building shall have both an awning sign and a wall-mounted sign on the same facade. It doesn't say specifically only if it's the name of the business.
Okay.
So we would be back to us to variances.
Sign.
And it doesn't really say,
So
you
you
know,
mean signage, actually,
Right.
any signage, not
Right.
sign.
It just, it
Means
says,
you can't have any writing on it at all,
Right,
that's what,
and
that's
awning
what you're saying the
signs.
code means?
right, it just specifically says an awning sign. It doesn't necessarily say a sign that indicates the name of the business, it could be any advertisement. So,
well, I think the key is, The key is if it calls for two variances, one that he puts signage, whether it says fresh, fast, good, or takeout and sit down, or whatever, one says
Restaurant, yeah.
restaurant. And then the key is, so if he put verbiage on those two signs, then he would need a variance just for the signage up on top.
One variance.
One variance.
If you're saying if the awnings were just
Right.
no
Plain.
verbiage on their own
Right.
plane, right?
You just need one variance then, right?
Then you just a variance for the
Okay.
two facade signs.
Yep, he
So-
want one variance to have
If
the
he
two.
goes one facade sign, he doesn't need a variance.
Then you wouldn't need a variance for either.
He'd only need a variance for what he's putting on the awning.
As long as the facade sign that he wants to do, saying that it's gonna be slightly larger, just meets the calculation by code requirement.
And
Which would tell you that the width of the facade of the whole building, you get 2 square feet for the sign.
square feet per,
So if you can,
So it would be 20,
so if the whole, whatever the whole length, if you did the calculation of the entire length of the width of the business.
including just the business, or are they including the
It
whole
would be
building?
the entire width of, I mean, his business, I think encompasses the entire, to the corner, right?
no.
No.
we have,
The liquor
liquor
store.
store.
Liquor
Okay.
store,
Up-
and there's like a.
Up
here's
to,
someone.
up to where that dividing point is.
Okay,
Both variances.
You're about 50 feet there, give or take.
so
So
what,
if it was about 50 feet, he would get a 100 square foot sign.
That's, doesn't that?
However you want the dimensions to work.
Right, so-
30 feet on the one awning. Right? 29.2.
is that, is a 100-foot sign, 100 square feet, right? Joe, is that what you said?
Are there two separate leases for, you have two separate leases?
No, one lease for the whole building.
One lease for the
Yes.
whole building,
Yes,
for both sides?
The lease states 87, 89.
87,
On one
89.
lease, yes.
So he has about 47 and a half feet in width.
So if you-
47, that'll be about,
That's what you get the 29 and 224, so you're, so 47, 48 feet.
So 94.
Give or take.
You get about 94, 95 square feet.
Right.
94 square feet, that'll be a sign roughly.
However you want the dimension to be in height and width, as long as it's,
Now, is there a height minimum, or it doesn't really?
no, the code doesn't have that.
Okay.
And you could design that side to the 98 square feet and center it. So then all you would need the variances for whatever you're putting on your awnings.
So now, how would it work? Would I have to come back with that for another hearing? What I'm trying to do is
I know, get it done.
get this over. Holidays are coming up, the sign company is ready to
Right.
move in. When I get this done, it looks really bad, as I said.
I think it looks like two separate buildings, and I don't see a problem with having both
So I have a
sides
question
there.
for Stuart. We grant him the variances on the awnings with the condition that he's only gonna put the one sign in the middle. Does he have to come back?
I would say no. What you could do is what we've done with other boards, is you could designate one of your members to basically look at what he proposes for the sign, which he's basically shown you the sign, it's really more
Right,
the signs. And if you're okay with it, then it's fine. I mean, he could basically just do that. So the answer is he would not have to come back.
But he's asking us for a variance to put those two signs in.
Yes.
That's
Right,
his
but he can-
application.
True, but he can also change it while he's here if he wants to.
Right.
I mean, if he wants
But
to,
Antonio asked him, what is his preference?
understood.
His preference is to
No, if
do
he,
that.
if he wants to present the application to the board
Right.
as is, which is 2 and 2, with 2 variances, he can do that and the board can vote it up and down. It's absolutely.
But if you wanted to change,
That's a little bit tough of a question right now. Considering that I gotta talk to my partner, but,
You can, I guess you can adjourn, ask for an adjournment and then regroup and come back next month, right?
He doesn't
Well,
want
we're in a
to.
public
doesn't
hearing,
want-
we have to see if somebody else showed up
Right.
to
Is there anybody
talk
here to
about the
speak
public
on,
hearing.
is there anybody here to speak on 85, 87, 89 Croton Avenue, because it's all those various numbers? I will tell you that the number scheme on Croton Avenue is a little, not seeing anybody. Let's close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, was it the recommendation, now we can have we can talk to you, right? So,
Yes.
is it the recommendation of the sign company that you have the two signs, or is that
No, it
because
was-
you were nervous about 25 years down the road when you moved out, that the owner would want those two electrical boxes?
If you saw the original picture that was written down, that's how the place looked. So we thought we might just have both signs, making sure let people know it's the whole space. Sign. So with one, right now it looks bad.
Right now it
I mean, it looks, I mean, ideally, from just, I know here you want it like the way you presented. But simply what I'd say, if you had the one sign in the middle, and then you had your awning with, takeout on the left and a restaurant on the right, then it would look organized, really good, I mean.
And that's something that I actually, that's why I said it's a little bit tough right now for me to
Now,
make
he
that
would,
decision.
he would need one variance for that too, to have writing on his awnings, right? Okay.
Good, totally neat.
So as long as I meet pretty much 96 square feet that I have to work, that one sign,
Centered in the middle.
center right in the middle.
With two
And
awnings.
cap walls.
Yes.
And guess who we're going to assign to do it?
Yes.
Well, then are you gonna make the awning
Yeah.
continuous all the way through, or you're gonna keep two separate awnings?
No, you
I
can't.
think continuous, because for me it's gonna be a lot more expensive to
Yeah.
get
I think
do
it's
all the
two
metal.
separate.
There's two separate I mean, it's two different addresses, so
That's
that's.
why you need the two separate signs,
There you
because
go.
it
No.
doesn't
There you
look
go.
nice when you put it in the middle with two separate awnings.
No, I disagree.
It doesn't look very tasteful,
If
in
the,
my
because if the
opinion.
sign, the middle sign were bigger, it would actually cover both awnings.
So if I have the 96 square feet as
Right.
it's on right now, I think from my math, I think I could definitely make it a little bit bigger.
Yes.
Make a bigger sign.
You make a bigger
Make it a
sign,
bigger sign,
but
exactly.
with the two awnings, and one says
And then it'll
whatever you
center
wanna
the
say,
whole,
and the
the
other
whole.
one
Because,
you know.
you are trying to attract all clientele.
Yes,
Yes.
especially now with all the changes that we made in there, we're trying to bring in.
And your food is excellent, by the way.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. So, something that, one
Change
of the
the
one of
awnings
the
and
things
I'm
that we're
coming
trying
for
to, as I said, we're bringing into the town,
Yeah,
and we kind of copied what Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks are doing. We're trying to throw in an app for January, where you can
Great.
do your juice
Yep.
for our juice bar. So you can just go on your phone, order your drinks
Okay.
directly from your phone.
cool.
We'll receive the order. So I'm trying to get all of this done by January. I want to skip all the holidays and just focus.
So
on
what
all
would
of
you
this.
like your variances to be?
Right now, I think from
Our discussion.
from our yes the discussion we had, if I can make the one sign bigger to cover both awnings, center in my
And staying within the square footage allowed for the
Yes.
sign.
I'll definitely go with one sign. I'll still.
And then if you, so you would be looking for a variance possibly to have writing on the
Warning.
on the-
awning.
Yes.
Okay.
Awnings, and that would be the one variance that you would be looking for.
Yes.
Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, that's correct, you got it
Is
right.
that correct, Brian?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Is that
So
correct,
he has
Stuart?
to- He has to come back then, right?
No,
No, he bends his application now, and we vote up
and
and
we're gonna
down.
vote on the amended application.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And the Board of Trustees has already approved the awning.
I
because
was
it's
gonna say,
required.
because this is not your last
No,
stop for an
it's
awning,
already,
right?
it's already been, he's already gotten
Oh, good.
an awning
Okay.
permit from the
Excellent.
DOT.
Excellent. All right. So,
I've got it all written down, so
You
you
do.
can just take the motion.
all right, why don't you review it quickly so you can agree that this would be the variances that you're looking for?
The variance would be, Mr. Conti, that you would erect one sign, one electric box sign, which would be above the awning. It will be, the size will be in conformance with the village code. And then you will have the awning beneath, and but the variance you're requesting is to put writing on the awnings, the two awnings that appear there.
Yes.
And what you want to put up there, you've heard some suggestions, but that's your
Yes.
determination there. And that would be one variance that's being requested
Okay.
pursuant to the village code.
Okay. Okay?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I
You
do.
think that's a good idea?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to motion to
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
approve as per Corporation Council.
With the amendment, as approved by the
By the
applicant.
applicant.
Yep.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along here.
They do catering too. They class catering.
They- excellent.
They're good, it's good people. They see class catering the other day.
So, PBA, okay. CBA 2619, 48 Walden Road.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
My name is Jesus Lopez. I currently reside at 7 Voltaire Lane in Nautilus. I just moved about 30 days ago from 48 Walden Road. I'm seeking a variance of the deck that is already there, it's already built. It's been there since we bought the property in 2004. And in 2006, we took that deck down and put a track, because the wood deck was in very bad condition.
Okay.
And I just made it a track instead of a wood, with the same dimensions that the prior deck had. If you look at, there is 4
No.
single family
Stop.
homes.
That's it.
44, 46, 48, and 50. And if you could see that one next to that
Yeah.
brown deck, that's the one that we built. Next one is the same dimension of the 48, and that's 50 Walden Road. And mine was 48 Walden Road. So the reason why I'm here is because we need a variance that we never had, but now.
This is after the fact.
Yes,
I'm gonna ask that.
What? What was the question? I'm sorry?
it's after the fact.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Essentially, whenever the deck, the original one was put up, I guess when the house was constructed, there was no
Right.
record of any variances granted to the setbacks at the time. And then in 2006, Mr. Lopez took down the deck, was there, and built a new one, which at that time, the permit was never closed since 2006 it was open. He was attempting to close that permit. And I guess at that time, the building department never informed him that he should have gotten variances then, so he's trying to get this now.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Thank you, Joe. You explained it better than me.
So I guess my question is, I mean, the deck is there, I'm gonna presume that it's all up to code.
Yeah, it's already been inspected and all the last thing here is to get the
Yeah, I
variance.
did pass inspection and everything.
Is there anyone here to speak on 48 Walden? Not seeing anyone. I want a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The only thing I want to add is,
Sure.
if you, as you see, the house itself is more non-conforming to the side, both yards, both side yard setbacks. So when we did actually the worksheet, it shows like one side, the house is right on the property line, and the deck is also.
This is an attached house.
Right,
Right.
party wall, the party wall.
Right.
And then the two sides actually, the other side only has 7.6 feet.
Okay.
So even though this is an extension by a deck, if you think it's necessary to include the variance, to redo the variances to the side yards, I believe you can also add that into this approval,
We
correct?
could, it's already on the worksheet.
Okay.
So if
Yeah,
we
I
wanted to,
see
we could do that.
Yeah. All right, so that would entail that we have, how many variances?
It would be a total then, Madam Chair, of 3. You would have one side yard,
Mhm.
and it would be both side yards, and it would be rear yard.
Okay. And that would put him totally in compliance,
Yes.
right? Do we have any questions on the board about that? It's attached house, of course he has no, he didn't have any variance to the next door neighbor.
Where was he going?
Where's he gonna know?
Yeah, okay. So I have a motion to, Corporation Council, please just read off the 3 variances that were.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There'll be 3 variances. The first will be for the side yard, which will be a 12-foot variance.
Mhm.
Both side yards will be a 20.4-foot variance, and the rear yard will be a 20-foot variance.
Okay, and they're all on the sheet.
Yes.
We have a motion to approve the 3 variances.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, it looks like a representative from 6 Osage is here. Just
Folks,
talk
have
to
a
you.
happy holidays.
You
You
too.
Take care, Jesus, thank you.
And Christmas presents.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I see that 6 Osage Drive is here. I want to make it clear to people that on our board, our zoning board meetings, they start on time, and we'd like you to be on time because you already called once, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
We'll give you an exception to the rule. We'll let you come up and talk to us about 6 Osage Drive, which is the applicant is seeking an area variance to create 2 parking spots in the front yard, and as you all know, I am not participating in this.
You out.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, good evening. So my name is Annie LaSala, and I am representing QBR Ventures, who is the owner of 6 Osage Drive West.
What did you do since the last meeting? I have to do the meeting, so.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us what you're presenting to the board, okay?
So I'm back here tonight with a revised parking plan that now asks for a 3-foot variance on the left side, and also created about a 4.5-foot planting area in front of the house.
Joe, can you give us an update on this?
So they still obviously need a variance for parking in the front yard. So with the request of the board from last month to move it closer to the property line, that would be an additional variance for 3 feet, because you need to leave 4 feet for driveways and parking areas. So they did an updated plan, proposal for a site plan from their architect, Luigi DeMasi.
Okay, so I believe the original, we had the 4 foot on the side, correct? So we did not need any variance on the left side of the driveway, correct? Now they're asking for a 3-foot variance. Right, so was there a canvas done because of the variance?
Well, there was, originally what was discussed about was to go as far over to the property line as possible.
Right.
So the assumption was that they were gonna go to the property line and they request a 4-foot variance, but the architect proposed to leave 1 foot off the property line. I guess the applicant can tell you why that was
More for
decided to do
aesthetic,
that, but-
for aesthetic reasons, to just leave a little bit of a buffer between the driveway and the fence for the neighboring property.
I think
Bob, are you asking if the neighbors were notified that this was gonna be done?
there's a variance on.
Because it's a different request than it was before.
Correct, and I was, at the time, was willing to say, you can go to property line, we know you gotta canvass the neighbors. Before, there was no canvas done because there was no variance needed on the left side.
Right.
So now there should have been a canvas done for the left side of the driveway. And my question was that done?
Yes, as far, the letter that was, the second letter that was given to me to mail out to the neighbors
Okay.
included this new variance.
All right. No, we've moved it away from the house.
Yes,
The original one was right up to the house, I believe. We're gonna-
The original design.
And I think also there was a correction, as you see the shape of the driveway now, so, because the question was, how would you get
Right.
one of the cars out?
Right, yeah, we
the
wanted
other
her to
out of the
move it
way?
over to the left and straighten
Right,
it
no, I
down.
believe that original concept was there, it just had to be a little deeper.
Right, so you
Right.
see that the angle now has been changed to
Right.
allow both vehicles to be able to access out to the street without interfering with the other.
Right. Yeah. Well, she did what we asked her to do, it looks like. don't know if anybody's here to talk about it.
Is anybody here to talk about 60 Sage? Should I run to the mic?
That's all you can say. No, you remember me talking about Park Avenue? Nope, you will.
Okay, so I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now it's open for discussion. That's what I can say.
Well, we considered it last meeting, or
Yeah, it
2
looks like she
meetings
did
ago.
what we asked her
She
to
did what
do.
we asked her to do. I saw the pictures. I don't seem to have a problem granting the variance. It looks like, it isn't gonna cause the neighborhood to look really any different.
Is there any comments, Joe?
I mean, the only thing I can tell you is that, if you've passed by the house already, the garage is already removed, it's been converted into a living space. I'm not so sure if that's what the board was anticipating, because last month it was discussed to hold off until the variances were approved. But if you visited the property, you probably are aware of that already.
Well, she's in contract to sell.
It was also to address the structural issues that were going on that wall, which I have pictures if you'd like to see. This house was vacant for at least 10, 15 years, long enough to...
35 years.
How many?
35.
Oh, my goodness. I've heard all kinds of different numbers. The wood on that side of the house needed to be completely replaced. I think there were 2 or 3 original pieces that were able to remain. It was kind of hanging in the air, and I can show you the pictures. So when the framers were there, it was determined that this was a safety issue. There was nothing supporting that side of the roof. So I said to them, yes, please secure it, please go ahead. There are kids on both sides of that house. Kids used to play in the backyard. And so I didn't really want to leave it kind of hanging in the air and just not address the safety issue. Which, if you'd like to see the pictures, I can pass them along, or, I don't know.
We're okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions.
Do what you have to do. So do I have a motion? I'll do the motion. Do I have a motion to approve the variance?
I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. I just want to make it clear to everyone that while you're in front of the zoning board or other boards, but we're only going to speak of the zoning board, you really should not continue to do the things that you are in front of the zoning board until you get your approval. This is an example. You explained to us that the wood was rotten. I can attest to that. I live around the corner. I just want to make it clear to everybody on TV too that when you're in front, you should not be doing the thing that you are in front of the zoning board while you are in front of the zoning board. You can't be any clearer than that. So, with that, thank you, ma'am. You were approved.
Thank you.
And good luck with that house.
Thank you very much.
And I will say, it hasn't been not owned for 35 years, but it has been empty for 35 years.
Yes, well, I'm happy that there's a new family coming in, and
I am too.
yeah.
It's the last house that was empty in the neighborhood.
And now next is 20 Osage, so I'm hoping to get that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to blow your chances by talking about it here in the middle of it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the minutes and resolutions from the October 15th, 2019 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
I just wanted to bring up just a matter, but let's complete this.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a comment that after our last meeting, and I guess this is for the folks on TV, that there was some strong feelings about the Plateau Associates in the Brandith building, and I just simply want to say, if anybody has strong feelings about any of these petitions, these variance applications, it's very important that you come, you participate in the public comment. Because we do want to hear from you. No, I know we did
We want to make it clear that that was not a public hearing, though.
Oh, no, I understand,
Okay.
but my point was there, I had experienced in the social meeting, just people that were upset, and I simply pointed out, listen, it's important that the procedures are followed, they're in place, and participate.
Yes.
But I also at the same time want to make sure if people have strong feelings, and please come to all of our meetings and certainly get your comments heard, because we want to hear from you.
And we want to point out that the meeting before that, we had opened up for public extensive public comment on
I
that
mentioned that,
particular
yeah.
issue. And the other thing to bring up is that the zoning board is regulated very strictly as to what we can and we cannot do. So, but thank you.
I thank you for, just for the benefit, because I want people to know, our community, we do want to be responsive, and we want everybody to participate.
Right.
Just to piggyback on that, the previous meeting, like you said, was open for public comment. We requested Plateau to submit any documentation because it was new in front of us.
Right.
So we could make an educated decision on what was gonna happen there. And that the next meeting was strictly informational for us to make our decision.
Thank you. So our next meeting will be December 10th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that will be the last meeting for 2019. So we look forward to seeing you, or either here or in TV land. So, thank you and have a great month.